Alert 42 minutes past the hour. This just in. Orders have been given for the 82nd Airborne to deploy. As of now, the commander and his headquarters element, his staff, will leave soon for the Middle East to begin assessing what will be needed once the target is set. So with that,
while the mainstream media is telling you we're losing a war that was never declared, and now they're quoting the Wall Street Journal, screaming that boots on the ground is the only option left. They are missing the entire tactical equation. And former Secretary of Defense General Mattis has come out and says that we are in a tough spot with zero options, trying to throw some shade at the administration.
Well, we're in negotiations, as it turned out, and now you've seen what I said yesterday was exactly correct. We're in negotiations right now. They're doing it along with Marco, JD. We have a number of people doing it. And the other side, I can tell you, they'd like to make a deal. And who wouldn't if you were there? Look, their Navy's gone, their Air Force is gone, their communications are gone. That's the biggest problem. It's very hard to communicate them between themselves. All of the anti-aircraft is gone. Most of their missiles are gone. We either shot them or they shot them and don't have them anymore. They're down to a trickle. They're pretty much everything they have is gone. I don't know. Can you name one thing that's not gone, or can you name one thing that's doing well? You know, if you read the papers, you think we're tied. You think we're in a tough battle. We are roaming free over Tehran, the city, Tehran, as opposed to Iran. We're roaming free. We can do whatever we want. And as you know, today we were going to have the privilege of shooting down a very big electric generation plant, one of the biggest in the world. And one shot to the right location ends the plant, it collapses. And we held off based on the fact that we're negotiating. Well, we're in
Donald Trump is absolutely right. Leave a comment down below. What aspect of this conflict is Iran succeeding in? What have they outdone the United States in? What aspect of the battlefield have they controlled? What aspect of the battle are they winning? The only thing I can think of that the Iranians have won is the sympathizers here in the United States, the doomer black pill news media, the doomer black pill podcasters that have suddenly latched on to this Iranian regime. That is the only thing that they have won. The only aspect of this entire conflict that Iran has continued to dominate is the American news media and the doomer black pillars that want Iran to win so badly because they hate Trump so much. Leave a comment down below if there's any other aspect of this conflict that Iran has excelled in. Here is the data the talking heads are omitting. The original war aims of denuclearization and regime change are dead. The Washington Post admits the entire focus of this conflict has narrowed to one objective, the 21-mile-wide choke point of the Strait of Hormuz, and how Iran has threatened the rest of the world. And now we're at a point where air power might need some help. As you can see here, the commanding general of the United States Army's 82nd Airborne Division, Major General Brandon Tetmeyer, and his command members of his headquarters staff have been ordered by the Pentagon to deploy to the Middle East, probably Kuwait. And there are several thousand paratroopers with the 82nd Airborne Division, their IRF, the Immediate Response Force. They are preparing to deploy to the region for possible ground operations against Iran. Whether this happens or not, I believe it is down to Iran and what kind of threats that they continue to push. Now, the Iranians are continuing to hold the Strait of Hormuz as almost a political hostage. They are now putting a small number of mines into the Strait of Hormuz, which is going to challenge peace talks. They have a Mayhem 3 and a Mayhem 7 mine. They have seeded those across the vital waterway. There's basically a 4-mile stretch through the channel where all of the shipping traffic goes, and they're freezing global shipping. Iran's navy is pretty much finished. You can see their aircraft carrier that they've got here. It's not really an aircraft carrier, but you can see the mines on the front of this twin-engine boat with 200-horse Yamahas, and a guy on the back smoking a cigarette with looks like a AK. But this is what the Iranian Navy has evolved to. And they're using these submerged subsurface mines and these little coastal missile batteries, and they're holding the world hostage. Now, if we do send in the 82nd Airborne, could it be to remove these coastal missile batteries? Could it be to secure the canal? And now the arrival of the Tripoli, the ARG, that's the aircraft that is bringing in 2,500, maybe 3,000 Marines, a MEU of Marines, should be there by Friday. This is a rapid escalation of what I would say is going to get kinetic very soon. The vulnerability of the strait is exactly what we don't want to happen. Donald Trump gave them a number of hours, 48 hours, to reopen the straits. They reopened it. But now they're back to their same old tricks. And the biggest lie that the media isn't telling you is that not only are they closing the straits, but they're only closing it to certain people. They're not allowing American ships to go through. They are not allowing any allies of the United States to go through. So at some point, we have to reopen this for the world. Now, this article comes from the Military Times, and I think it's a very relevant article. Iran is the first war of the social media age, and it calls it a black box because no matter what you put in, no matter how positive of information, no matter how positive of strategic progress goes in, social media, doomer, black pill folks will always find a way to tear apart the administration. It's been about 50 years plus since the Vietnam War. We had Operation Desert Storm. We had Operation Iraqi Freedom, the Gulf War. Even during that time, there was no hyper awareness of social media. What there was basically CNN was the first real media outlet to film live action battle. And that changed the dynamic of what was sold to the American people. It started plucking the heartstrings, but now it is even more hyper. Everyone is hyper aware. The credibility they're saying here with the Wall Street Journal, the Wall Street Journal is basically saying Trump's entire credibility, the credibility of the American people, is down to this, down to Iran, down to this conflict. And I'm not so sure if I'm buying it or not, but the Wall Street Journal loves to run with these sorts of articles. The administration, the Trump administration, has cut off all the leaks. Even this guy, Joe Kent, that ran to Candace Owens and these other platforms, was cut out of these briefings. General Mattis, retired 4-star, former Secretary of Defense. Some of you will agree with his methodology. Some of you will agree with what he did under the previous administration. Even he didn't want to do anything or venture into the water with Iran. But now that we have a Secretary of Defense that is playing to win, and I'm not going to discredit his military career, General Mattis is a legend in his own right. And he could have just inherited some bad, what I would say, staff around him. I believe Donald Trump trusted too many people in his previous cabinet. It came back to bite him in his butt. But Mattis is now saying that ending the Iran war now would cede the Strait of Hormuz to the enemy. It would go back to the status quo where Iran controlled the flow of everything in and out of the Middle East. And that's exactly, I have to agree with him on this. We cannot go back. It is an all or nothing type of move. When Donald Trump activated the 82nd Airborne, I'm sure there's other troops that have already been activated. But you know, whenever it comes out in the news media is about 3 to 4 days behind. So the Trump administration learned some lessons, and the lessons they learned were difficult, but very important. Number one, do not let the news media know what you're doing. Number two, do not let Democrat members of Congress know what you're doing, because if you do, then the news media is going to know, and it's going to put a lot of these troops, these soldiers and Marines, lives in danger. And that's how far we've come as a country. Now, you have this guy here. This is Seth Moulton. He looks very constipated here, but his anger, his hatred for the current administration supersedes what he would like to see happen for America. They would rather see Trump fail and America fail. Listen to this. This is very telling.
And let's be clear, if the Marines actually try to take Karg Island, and I agree with David that there are not enough troops on hand to do it properly, but if they do try to take Karg Island, that's not even in the Strait of Hormuz.
So Karg Island, the Strait of Hormuz down here, this very tight choke point, Iran controls one side of the Persian Gulf, yet they are allowed to control everything entering the Persian Gulf. Oman, the Arab Emirates, Qatar, Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, and even Iraq share some of the coastline of the Persian Gulf. This Democrat representative, Seth Moulton, tries to sell you, the American people, that the Marines could not hold Karg Island, this tiny little island here. I think he is underestimating the Marines. I think he is underestimating the United States military. I believe he is underestimating the fact that most of these troops will deploy through Kuwait right here and go straight across the Persian Gulf. That's about 60 miles, I believe, across there. Maybe a little less. Somebody can fact check me on that. But I believe that's what will happen. I don't believe the United States is going to put any warships through the Strait of Hormuz for the potential threat of it getting blocked, it getting, barricaded. But I believe that's the way this will happen. I'm sure there's some experts that are watching this that will disagree with me, and that's okay.
With the Iranians, to try to get the Iranians to open the Strait of Hormuz. Because at this point, Trump is losing his war. If he stopped today.
Do you believe we are losing this so-called war? I can't work out how some people really believe this, that we are losing. The Iranian Navy has lost about 140 plus ships, watercraft. The United States Navy has not lost any. We have flown sorties over 9,000 targets. We have destroyed countless, hundreds of strategic assets. And yet this guy here says we are losing. Work that one out for me. Send me a memo or a strongly worded letter.
That they closed because of the war Trump started.
So there's the issue with the oil in the Strait of Hormuz, and you mentioned Karg Island, where Iran has many of its oil facilities. But there's also the issue of nuclear material that is believed to still be inside Iran. Do you think boots on the ground are inevitable for the U.S. to secure Iran's enriched uranium and the radioactive fallout Trump keeps talking about?
I talked about this in a previous video. There are 1,000 pounds, roughly, of enriched uranium that is either in a bunker, it's under some rubble, it's in a cave, or the Iranians have gathered it up, moved it, and maybe sold it, or they're back to doing their same old dirty tricks, trying to enrich this and get what they can towards a nuclear weapon or maybe some dirty bombs. I believe that will be the number one objective if there are boots on the ground, securing that nuclear material, because that could change the entire game if it gets into the wrong hands. And I'd love to get your opinion on this, but I don't believe we need to allow any enemies of the United States or any allies of Iran to get this nuclear material. Some of these doomer podcast bros are betting against the American military. Some of them served in the United States military, and yet they still want America to lose. Their hatred for Donald Trump has blinded them to the point where they want America to fail. If you're believing them, if you are believing some of these news outlets that spew nothing but partisan politics, and a lot of people buy it, a lot of people believe it, and it's easy to fall into that. Try not to. Have some faith in the American military. Have some faith in the American people. We have lost no ships. We have lost a couple of aircraft. We have lost, I want to say, 7 American military members so far. I can't think of one aspect of this conflict that Iran has outdone America. I can't think of it. If you can, leave a comment down below. But Iran's days are numbered. The 82nd Airborne, these Marines are activated. Where they're going, I don't know. And right now, I'm not privileged to know. And neither was anybody else. And if you think that they're telling you anything other than their opinion, they're wrong. I don't care who they are. None of them are setting in intelligence briefings. And neither was Joe Kent. That might be why he quit. I'll see you in the next one.